Alright guys, a little bit late on the highlight video, but the highlights from Friday at GreatStockPicks.com, our live trading chat room. I just didn't have time after the market closed. When the market closed on Friday, my wife wanted steak, and it took me all evening driving around Central Florida looking for a place that had steak through a drive-thru. So I just didn't have time to make the video. But anyway, making it here on Saturday, and I do have to lament a little bit about one of my big misses Friday morning, I'll talk about how I blew it and how obvious it was, and I just really dropped the ball on it and missed a great trade. But having said that, I would be remiss if I didn't start this video with Abercrombie Fitch that one of our All-Stars B-Turk in the chat room called in the afternoon, because this was absolutely the call of the day. See that little blip that looks like a plus sign? It doesn't even look like a candle. B-Turk literally called ANF long right there. The entry 45.32. Using our methods, the stop would have been 45.29, 3 cents below. But on the results page, I put a dime stop just because it almost seems ridiculous how great that call was. So 45.32. Look at it closes. It just kept rallying. It just ran all the way into the close. Went to 46.45. $1.13 on literally 3 cents risk. But again, I'm putting a dime risk on the results page. But what a call. I mean, just picked the bottom clean right there. Beautiful call by one of our All-Stars, B-Turk. And I wouldn't have felt right leading off the video with anything other than that call. My call, General Motors, called early. Well, I'll just leave the whole chart up there. But my thinking here on the call was GM. We already had it on bounce watch. As a matter of fact, let me go to the daily and show you first. Take today's or Friday's candle out of it, you can see we had like 4 days down in a row. You know, the trend line might not be in a perfect place. I probably need to redraw this trend line to this recent low, and you could kind of see that it was back down to that trend line. If I were to shift this to here, this was back down there. So plus 4 days down in a row. So we had it on bounce watch, and that just means a break of its early high. And you see it did do a nice bounce. But let's go to the intraday, and I'll show you why I called it where I called it. Remember, the high of day break is what I'm thinking will get this going, okay? One of the reasons for the call was Ford was cranking. Ford, the stock symbol F, was just ripping to new highs and just kept hitting new highs. I already had GM on bounce watch, so my thinking is GM might follow Ford, plus we already have it on bounce watch, so we know if it breaks you know, the early high on Friday, it's probably going to rally. Couple that with Ford rallying, and I said, you know what, if this gets up to here, just above this little base, it's probably going to get through the high of the day. So it enabled me to call a little bit of a better entry. 24.76 was my entry idea. 24.66 stop. So a dime risk. And there's the trigger. And then quickly through the high of the day, just like I had hoped. And really pretty quickly to almost 25.20. Pulled back some, but held the entry all day and ended up closing near its highs. GM went from 24.76 entry on a dime risk to 25.21. Not huge, but a nice little trade. And easy money there. I did have a dime loss in Fran. I called Fran, F-R-A-N. It's a little thinner than something I would normally call, but this was another possible bounce play. Called it long right about there and killed it right about there. So I lost a dime on that one. I also nibbled some. This is not for the chat room, but I nibbled some right here in my IRA, and I'll show you the daily real quick. I don't want to dwell on Fran, though, but after nice earnings, you had the gap up 2 days down in a row and then was selling off, and I thought we might be taking out these stops. That's why I nibbled as the IRA, but this was on bounce watch, and if it had broken its early high right above right here, and that's why I called it long for the chat room right here, I thought we'd get through the high, kind of like the General Motors pick. Only this is a little bit uglier chart probably on the daily. I figured we would start to rally. And this will be back on bounce watch for that same kind of scenario after the gap up and then 3 days down. On Monday it'll be back on bounce watch. But all right, anyway, lost a dime on Fran. Talked about General Motors. And then I had a couple of flat trades in UAL. Airlines were rallying. UAL had a nice day on Thursday, and I thought we might continue on Friday. Airlines were getting some juice, and I called it right here at 24.50 and sold it at 24.50. Then I thought after this tight base, I called it again at like 24.56. It went to 24.60 something, came back to my entry, and I was back out again. The SPY was ridiculous. Let me try that again. SPY was ridiculous. I'm just no direction, just narrow grinding all day, and so not a lot of entries. Now, let me lament a little bit about what I blew at the open. Smith & Wesson, I was watching this thing sell off. I was mesmerized by the earnings, the gap up, and the sell-off, and I went ahead and grabbed some at 10.50, sold some at 10.70 on this bounce, but didn't really give the chat room enough time, I don't think. I didn't give any warning, but here's what I did wrong. I was mesmerized with Smith & Wesson when, in fact, FCX was my #1 focus on Thursday, sorry, and I had a nice 40-cent gain here. Remember me talking about it in the wrap-up video. If FCX had broken its early high, I think we were going to rip, okay? Well, then look today, and I saw this in the pre-market. FCX was gapping above all of that trading on Thursday. This should have been my main focus and could have grabbed it anywhere in here on this opening 5-minute candle and got a quick buck, probably closer to $1.20. And all the attention I paid to FCX on Friday, it is ridiculous that this wasn't my main focus on the gap I'm sorry, all my focus on Thursday. It's ridiculous that it wasn't my main focus on the gap up on Friday. And that was all because SWHC, gapped up and then was selling off, and I was looking for a bounce. And, just really, this should have been my main focus. And the market usually has a way, even when you're trading well, of making you feel like a fool by the end of the day. And this one was my big miss anyway. But there's never a day goes by that I don't have a big miss. But this one I can lament a little more because it was my main focus the day before, and then I had the gap. It was like a Christmas present, and had my attention in the wrong place. So, never a day goes by that you don't look back on what you should have done. But this one was too obvious for me not to whine about a little bit. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you guys on Monday.